We're going to talk today about incorporating sources, which can be difficult to talk about whenever we're not actually in a classroom. So I thought that we'd try something new, and I would show you what is on my screen and how you can use your sources and utilize your sources whenever you're actually writing your paper. So I have put up a document called Incorporating Sources under the module that you're working with right now. And it's kind of a cheat sheet that I've created so that you know that whenever you're working with a source, so whenever you're going to refer to a source in your paper, you go through 4 steps. And those 4 steps are making sure that you introduce the source, use the source, cite the source in the text, and then cite the source again on the Works Cited page. And so I've put together this document here that I want to make sure that you use. So we'll go through this and then I'll show it to you in practice. You want to make sure that you use an introductory phrase, and so there are several examples of this and I've given you some here. The reason that you want to do this is because you don't want to do what's called source dumping or source dropping in the middle of the paper, which is where you would just give me a person's name or not even give me a person's name and just give me the quote. So the question is, who is this person? How do I know that they're an expert? How do I know that they know anything more about this topic than I do or that you do? You've got to tell me that this person is a legitimate source of information. And so that's where introductory phrases come in particularly useful. So I've given you a couple of examples here. So according to an article from WebMD, this person said. The second example, this person who is writing for the New York Times argued. And the third example, an expert in the field of climate change, Rachel Carson, wrote in her book Silent Spring that. And so in each one of these I tried to use different verbs as well as telling you a little bit more about why that person might be an expert in the field that they're writing for, and telling you exactly what their publication is. So the more information that you can give, the better that you are introducing this source. So give a name, give the publication, you can give an article title. Any of that kind of information is helpful. Okay? Next you can use the source. And so this is the part here when you actually utilize the source in your paper. And this is the most important part because this is the quote, the paraphrase, or the summary that you give. And this is where people, you're good at this. You've done this before. But you've probably just quoted your sources. You can also paraphrase or summary, or give a summary. Think of the difference in these two. A summary is like a book report. You would read a 200-page book and then give me a 2-page summary of that book that you read. You wouldn't paraphrase it because a paraphrase is it's saying something in different language, but saying it in about the same number of words. Quoting directly is when you want to make sure that you use the words very carefully and that they're important enough to quote directly. The trick question here is that every single time you use a paraphrase, a summary, or direct quote, you always want to cite your source, giving an in-text citation. Many people think that you only have to give an in-text citation if you do a direct quote, but you also have to do an in-text citation if you paraphrase or summarize. You want to cite your source in the text, and that's what we call the parenthetical citation, which is here, and here, and here. Okay? You can look in your MLA handbook for examples, and I've also given you resources at the bottom of this page here. So you give the, you utilize the 3 steps that we've gone through so far. You introduce the source, you give the quote, the paraphrase, or the summary, and then you give the in-text citation. A note about the in-text citations. They are either going to be the last name of the author, the page number, or the first couple of words of the title. It will never be the name of the website, ever. So if you look at that first example, it says diagnosis and treatment. It would never be WebMD. It would never be CNN. It would never be New York Times, right? It's always going to be the first couple of words of the actual article title. So don't fall into the trap of writing the website name. I see that all the time. People write their website names. The point of the in-text citation is so that I can go directly down to the works cited page and find your source immediately. If you'll notice, what's in the in-text citation is the very first thing that appears on the works cited page. So when we get to the works cited page, you see, I've given you some examples here, and I'll show you the Purdue OWL site just in case you haven't been on there yet. Definitely do not use EasyBib. Don't use Microsoft Word or Microsoft Office. Don't use their citation stuff. Here's the reason. MLA just switched to the 8th edition, and those haven't caught up yet. They are still using the 7th edition. And often, unfortunately, you don't put in the right things into the right spots, and they spit out what you put in, and it's not right. So spend the extra time, look up the information, and get it right the first time. Okay? So I've given you some information down here about how to format your quotes, some basic rules on in-text citations, and a sample works cited page. So hopefully you've seen some of this stuff already, and I'll go up here to the Purdue OWL to show you a couple of things here. If you want some extra information on quoting and paraphrasing and summarizing, you can go to the Purdue OWL Writing Lab, Purdue Online Writing Lab, which is what Purdue OWL means. And they have some things here. They've got a sample essay that you can look at and get an idea of how people have given an example summary, an example paraphrase, and an example quotation. I'm not going to assign this to you. You don't have to read it. You don't have to use it. But I thought that it might be useful for some of you who wanted a little extra information, a little extra practice at this, just in case you feel like you need some more practice. I've given links. Let me go back here so you can see exactly where these links go. The in-text citation and the sample works cited page, just in case you haven't been here before. This is also helpful for your formatting, because I've told you exactly how to format the works cited page on the link to formatting. You'll have works cited here at the top, and then you'll give your works cited entries, and yours will not be this long by any means, but you will have your works cited entries in alphabetical order, and as you see, they're by last name. If there is no author's name, you see that we have, so this one is a film, and so you've got the film title first. So if we did not have a name, if we did not have an author, it would go directly to the article title first. So if you don't have a first name, a first and last name, if you don't have an author, you just move on to the next piece of information that you do have. And so that's where the in-text citation gets us to the information that's on the works cited page. This is really a super useful website. Anything that you want to know about MLA, which is the formatting method that we're using in this class, you're going to find it here somewhere. So please use this, help yourself out. Anything that you want to know is over here, and that can be really helpful for you.